If you need a good rumor or two, I think I can oblige. There was some bother about a group of mages. I can't remember what the details were. Well, there is something, but that couldn't be related. Here, why don't you take a look for your trouble? Need anything, you just say the word. Yes?
Greetings, Archmage. It is well known that Galarian's gifts for magic were quite diverse. He could restore a rose to full bloom not long after burning it aflame, all the while fooling the mind into believing its scent had rotted away. The theory goes that Galarian was on the verge of completing 5 new spells, one for each school. Spells of such tremendous power that even the immortal armies of Manimarco would countenance their fear. Unfortunately, Galarian's obsession with his nemesis deprived him of his patience. Nevertheless, before he embarked on the great battle, he left notes encoded in 5 works, so others could continue his research. Quite slow. It seems the mages have placed additional layers of security on top of Galarian's original text. As you may have noticed, the pages are littered with various magical runes, whose patterns transcribe into messages written in code. I had hoped to depart from this location once the matter of the text was concluded, but it appears I will need to conduct further research. Interesting. This journal references 2 names. The name Drellis is mentioned repeatedly, but is otherwise unfamiliar to me. This other name, however... That won't be necessary. While the majority of the journal is unclear, the name Nellis alone speaks volumes. It appears the Radiant Dark has come to Skyrim. We are old acquaintances. Or rather, he was well acquainted with my father, Brennel Moronin. They were childhood friends. Back then, he was known as Neloth Salal. Yet I knew him as Master Nelos, a professor at the Arcane University in Cyrodiil. He was a great sorcerer, and a poor educator. Not surprisingly, we did not see eye to eye. Teaching is not a competition. It is a cooperative effort. Nelos's difficulty stemmed not from his methodology, but his desire. They are a cult, led by a rogue mage. They believe the only way to advance the field of magic is to destroy the very institutions that ensure its safe use. The Synod may be hungry for relics of power, but they at least hold some accountability for its use. The Radiant Dark would unleash destruction upon the land, and view it as a remedy for the weak, and a test of the strong. I agree. Our principles will not win us this war, but without them we are no different than the ones we oppose. As you know, we've only begun deciphering the books. It does seem that the pages contain more than just the crafting of the 5 spells. They also contain references to a hidden location where Vanus kept more of his research. The ruins of Pinefrost Tower stand in its place. This may be why the Radiant Dark have come to Skyrim. Regardless, it bears investigating. I can think of no better person than you for this task. In the meantime, I will be here, working on deciphering the pages, and perhaps create working tomes of Vanus's spells. I fear we may need to make use of them in the near future. What little I know is this. I spent nearly a decade with Nelos, and not once did I meet the Dunmer my father spoke of, from those days in Tel Brenora. Neloth Salal was a bright, jovial, and creative elf, who thought beyond the boundaries of what lay in the common spell tome. And no sooner did he make those discoveries, that he shared them with his closest confidant. My father claimed he would not be half the mage he was, if not for his friend. Yet that was a far cry from the wizard I met in Cyrodiil. The intellect remained, but little else. He was distant, single-minded, obsessed. Until next time.
It's about time. You've made Nelos wait quite a while. It was rather poor manners on your part. You're almost as bad as that elf. I told him it should be her that should stand watch, but he insisted I do it. After all, I'm the only one he can truly rely on. Still, I don't like the idea of them being alone together, even for 1 second. Far be it for any of the others to make their presence known. No, not if you aren't going to ask nicely. Everything is happening as Nelos envisioned it. I think he planned for you to interfere with Vanis's spells. There's really no other explanation. Soon will come the passing of the long night, and with it a new dawn. That's all I'll say for now. Nelos will fill you in on the rest. You know, Jared, Offrin, Felena, and the rest of those footstools. I stopped bothering with their names after you killed most of them. For that you have my eternal gratitude. I wish the rest of them would die so easily. As you shouldn't. Offrin and Felena just arrived. Jared's been hiding out at that old cliffside retreat. Problems with the former spouses. He had 3 of them and none of them knew. Oh, don't tell me you bought that troll manure. Nelos, in his infinite wisdom, placed this location in Vanis's texts. He knew that old hag would burst a vein in her forehead and send you right to us. After all, it's time you fought for the winning side. You fancy yourself a free thinker. That isn't the wisest course. Would you ask the farmer to fight your wars? Or the guardsman to grow your beets? Nelos is the preeminent thinker in all of Tamriel. You would do well to at least listen to what he has to say. Just up the stairs and down the trapdoor. You mustn't keep him waiting. Something on your mind? About time.
And what might you need,
What can I do for you?
I'd better get going.
Now where did I put the tomatoes? Blast! I'll never get this done in time for dinner. Oh, it's you. This is your fault, you know. Irith was our cook, and my fiancée. So, while part of me is grateful to you for tying that loose end, Nelos has decided to make me the unofficial cook. That's a question I get often. Every day it seems like I'm someone else. The only people who've reached a consensus on who I am is my wives. They think I'm a sodding Dremora. You can call me Gerard. I try not to think about them at all. Violent lot is what they are. I don't know how Nelos puts up with them, being a fellow intellectual. Yet, while we have different philosophies, I see the merits of his goal. There are always going to be more of them than us. That goes for all of Tamriel. Every era we have wars upon wars. The only real way to have peace is to have a single, unimpeachable power. I hate that word. Prophecy. Do I believe in oracles and soothsayers? No. Do I believe violence has the power to destroy? Well, of course. You can decorate it in poetry and omens. But that's what the long night is. Corpses rising, beasts roaming, just an endless string of violence. When the people witness its destructive power, they'll have no choice but to drop their weapons as a means of self-preservation. I find the whole thing reprehensible, but ultimately necessary for us to have peace. Yes, he thinks that Vanus' spells will bring about a new age of war and competition. I believe there is a threshold of violence, a point where further violence would bring peace in one of two ways: reconciliation or death. So while we strive for the same goal, we have different views of what the outcome will be. I pray to the divines that he's wrong. Yeah, so it would seem. Before that, I was a hunter at the cliffside retreat. And prior to that, I was a loving husband to 3 angry wives. Having been on the run from the Empire and my spouses, I've been forced to wear many hats. And a chef's one is no different. You see, the only real way to convince a person you're someone else is to become someone else. Right now, my job is to convince Nelos I can cook. That's pretty much what Gilsey said, which says a lot about you, I'm afraid. Cooking is difficult, frustrating, and extremely tedious. If you have to ask, then you don't know me very well. I view it as a challenge, precisely because I abhor the very idea of it. That's the real reason why Nelos chose me. He knows that I won't be satisfied just preparing a meal. It has to taste good.
All right then.
This is a local favorite and one of the first songs I ever learned. Ragnar the Red. Oh, there once was a hero named Ragnar the Red who came riding to Whiterun.
You here to kill Nelos? Well, I hate to disappoint you, but he's not the most powerful mage here. If you want him dead, just wait. I'll take care of him for you.
When he met the shield maiden Matilda, who said,
of course. How else am I going to be leader of this guild? I could best Gerard, but what would that make me? The cook? The only way to be leader is to take down the leader. It's nothing personal against Nelos. It's just the way it is. Why? Because I am tired of jarls and politics and wealthy nobles, thanes, and barons who don't give 2 septims about the people. Meanwhile, the Thalmor are breathing down our necks, and the dragons are breathing on them. But do the jarls care? No, they're up on their thrones, eating pies and lathering their stomachs with gravy. I just want to make a difference. And the only way to do that is with power. No, I left them years ago. Pa used to say my name was apt. Always off and running. He's a great man. He's the one who first taught me power was something that could change worlds. He just never thought I had it. Didn't want to baby me like my sister, me being his only true blood son. Either way, I'm going to prove I'm every bit as strong as him. And when I change this world, the first thing I'm going to do is give Pa a hug and say, "Hey, I forgive you." In a word, power. Untapped, unlimited power. I don't care what Felina and Phineas say. I have no doubt Varnus's spells are the ones we've been waiting for. I bet that there's a destruction spell that would blow up the Jarl's Keep. 2 keeps, in fact. No, all of Solitude. No, that's not true. There's 5 spells in Varnus's research. I'm sure there's, like, some special ward in there. Or maybe some super restoration spell that can regrow all the grass and all the animals. I just know it. Oh, I don't know. Just about everything. Look, I know Nellis's heart is in the right place. He wants to push the limits of magic. Better magic means a better world. My point is, instead of leaving it all to chance, why not make the better world yourself? With Varnus's spells, I could be emperor and shape the land as I see fit. Of course. The opportunity to challenge Nellos is always there. You can't be a child of destiny if you can't even best your own acolytes. What he doesn't know is, my destiny is even bigger than his. It's just unfortunate his had to get trampled in my path.
Ragnar the Red.
Really? That's because I haven't put on the charm. And by that, I mean a charm spell. I mean, why bother learning speechcraft when I can just wizard myself the words?
But then he went quiet. Ragnar was boastful no more. When his ugly red head rolled around on the floor.
Your health is deteriorating. You need to rest.
Your concern is noted, but you know as well as I do that there's no place I can.
But Master Nellos.
Enough. I will hear no more of this in front of our guest.
Go on in, he's waiting for you.
Take your time.
And the second moon rose to take its throne beside the first, and together they eclipsed the sun, and the night reigned forevermore. Still, there will come a dawn, Dragonborn, as there always has since the beginning of time. But enough about prophecies. Welcome. prophecy of the long night, my destiny. But come, let us speak of such matters in private.
Go on in, he's waiting for you.
My lady?
Take your time. It's a privilege to speak with Nelos alone.
Now, you must have questions. As you are a guest, I will answer what I can before I make my request. To understand the objective of our guild, you must first understand the principles of light and dark magic itself. The old mages believed that magic was a fundamental force in our world, one whose energies could reflect brightly or darkly. Yet a spell by itself has no alignment. Flames warm as easily as they burn. Intent is the determining factor. Now, consider the crafting of a new spell. Do the same rules apply? Should we condemn those who research magic based on their intent? Should breakthrough restoration research be suspended if the mage intends to use it for torture? Darkness may rule the day, but tomorrow, such a spell could help thousands of sick and wounded. Good or evil, light or dark, intent only concerns itself with the immediate, when such consequences are as fleeting as tears in the rain. The Radiant Dark does not care about intent. It is a guild founded on the principle of advancement, progress, power. It has to. The more conditions you place on progress, the slower that progression. Even experimental failures provide their own measure of success, as future mages can narrow their avenues of research. Yes, close. She hasn't told you, has she? It doesn't surprise me. That is how she is. Always telling you just enough to move forward. Always leaving you in the dark. Her coming to Skyrim has nothing to do with Vanice's research, or whatever altruistic reason she has given. For her, this has always been personal. Brynil and I were indeed close. Childhood friends in Tel Brenora. But when I left the Arcane University to form the Radiant Dark, he pursued me, much to the chagrin of his only daughter. It did not end well for him. But all friendships wither, no matter how strong. And all men die, no matter how brave. We must move forward. Was he a friend? If so, then nothing I will say will make amends. Nor should I have to. I imagine he was. She cared about her students, even the ones who had little potential. Like father, like daughter. Yes, it is a weakness of mine. As the night of reckoning approaches, I seem to grow more and more weary of the light. In my youth, I used to couch myself beside fires like this, watching the dance of flames as they guided me off to sleep. As time passed, the light seemed to sap my very strength, and I felt more at ease in the darkness. Still, I can't help but find myself driven to old habits. I come here every night to read, to bask, or merely to sit, despite Vinius's protests. If it were so, the cure would be rather simple. Unfortunately, I have exhausted all avenues in terms of the Nightwalker's disease. Although Vinius has not given up hope that there may be some connection. He is nothing if not stubborn. But the Imperial means well. He fashions himself my steward, when I have insisted from the beginning that there are no titles in this guild. Status comes from power. Here, there are no aging Jarls clinging to a throne that they are not equipped for. I apologize that you had to witness that. Vinius worries about my health. It is not enough that the light eats away at my soul. Every night I am plagued by dreams, the vividness of which makes it hard to distinguish between this reality and that one. As such, I have not slept for ages. The light wears on my body, but the dreams, the nightmares as Vinius calls them, wear on my mind. I appreciate your gesture, Dragonborn, but I feel no village remedy will cure what ails me, nor do I seek one. It began when I was a child, living in the canal works of Vivek City, and followed me to Tel Brenora. I dreamt of the twin moons devouring the sun to flood the land in an endless night. The tide of shadow rises from east and west, and there I stand in the middle, no older than a boy. I look to the south, to the sun, where only a thin hourglass of light remains. Below it, there stands a person, and behind him stands an army. Over the years, as my body grew, my eyes adjusted more and more to the darkness, and his face began to take form, until one night I dreamt, and his face was as clear as day. And then I knew the true meaning of destiny. I ask nothing of you. You will no doubt return to Olivia and tell her of our conversation, at which point she will develop Vanis's spells and hope to use them to enact her vengeance. Undoubtedly, she will ask for your assistance. You will then be presented with a choice. You will either come here to deliver the spells to the Radiant Dark, or use them to destroy it. That decision I leave to you. Hail. Welcome. Azura, watch over you.
Oh. Yes, dear?
Yes? Oh, I don't really consider myself a member. I'm not a mage, after all. I'm a scholar. I study the texts and provide counsel to any of the acolytes who may have some trepidation about the war ahead. I try to assuage any fears that what they're doing here isn't all preordained. Oh, I understand. You're a doubter. Well, I'll tell you what I tell the rest. Think of a prophecy as a jigsaw puzzle, and every day is a puzzle piece. Now, if the pieces form a different picture than the one in the prophecy, you'd know right away. But so far, everything Master Nellos has achieved has gone according to the form. Yes. It's no secret the nightmares have become more violent as the days have gone on. Master Nellos believes it's confirmation that the long night is close, I'm not entirely sure it isn't some other affliction. In the meantime, we've kept this area mostly dark, and that seems to help with his fatigue. No, they are, but there isn't really much to do. Gilsey's probably the only one we had to forcibly remove by having her stand watch. I stop by every now and then to see how Master Nellos is faring. Elderwin hangs around as well, because she's just creepy that way. Well, at first, I assumed vampirism. Maybe Felina had gotten to her. But the symptoms aren't limited to sunlight. The prophecy does mention the child gathering darkness, and I've long assumed that was in reference to an army. But what if it wasn't metaphor? What if it was literal? As in, Master Nellos was collecting shadows, almost as if he was building a reserve. Given the literature on the twin moons, it's possible they aren't referring to Massa and Secunda. What if the moons are the metaphors? That would mean there's another person involved in ushering in the long night, but none of the other texts seem to collaborate that theory. He doesn't have to. We can hear him screaming. Eventually, he stopped going to sleep altogether. Sure. What would you like to know? I was working as an archivist at the Arcane University when Nellos first approached me. He wanted to know if there were any texts on cross-cultural prophecies, specifically the one of the Long Night. As it so happens, I told him, there was one book that compiled all of the history regarding the prophecy. It was replete with information, history, and analysis. In short, it sought to determine whether the prophecy itself had any basis in reality. He asked me if he could see the book. I told him he could. As soon as I was finished writing it. True, since I'm an expert on the prophecy of the Long Night, it does sort of help in that regard. But if my aim were to sell books, I probably would want Master Nellos to fail. No one's going to want to read about the Long Night if it's happening outside their window. Intellectual curiosity? Probably. Camaraderie? Maybe. I just enjoy doing the research and conversing with the members. Finding out their motivations and goals sort of fleshes out my understanding as well. Why, yes. I was actually the one who alerted Nellos to the debate over the validity of Treacherous' journals. It was then he told me of his vision, and how it revealed the casting of 5 extraordinary spells. Spells he himself was unfamiliar with. At the time, I was certain Vanis's spells were the ones he saw in his vision. But given recent events, my opinion is that we should move on. Oh, no, you misunderstand me. It's not that. Although, I am in awe of your presence. You forget, Master Nellos' acolytes had Vanis's research for some time before he recovered it. There was some opinion amongst the mages that the spells, while impressive, were ultimately useless. Primarily because they would require an almost impossible and near endless reserve of magicka to cast. Master Nellos is a great elf, but he isn't a god. If he were, I wouldn't worry about his health as much as I do. Oh, right. The alteration spell. Yes, he's rather fond of that one, and it does fit into the notion of fate. I think it's possible that this is one of the 5 spells we're looking for, with the remaining 4 to be found from other sources. But we'll never know unless it's wielded by him personally, as opposed to Master Merinin. Either way, my opinion holds little weight in this regard. Master Nellis is married to the idea that these 5 spells are the ones in his vision. The appearance of the Dragonborn only further entrenched that belief. Until next time.
So you're the one, huh? Somehow I thought you'd be taller. Not you, of course. I asked Phineas to fetch me a tall glass of firebrand wine, and this is decidedly shorter than what I had envisioned. Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. I'm sort of a demon, a dark spirit, a monster. But the most important thing you should know is, I seem to be all out of wine. Phineas assured me such a travesty would not happen again. Would you mind fetching a bottle for me? Could you do that? I'd be eternally grateful. And seeing as I'm virtually immortal, that actually counts for something. I don't see that as a negative. My Nord friends often chide me for neglecting the rich history of Skyrim, as if I was ignorant of it. They say, you know, Elder, there's more to Skyrim than just alto and spiced wine. And I tell them, yes, yes, I know all about your windmills and bards and 12 different words for cold. I only care about the wine. When it comes to examining wine, I'm still just a novice, although I have picked up the basics. Well, supposedly the color can tell you the wine's provenance, as well as the conditions it was developed in, serving as an indicator of how it will taste. Wine tasting is apparently all about discovery, yet I've discovered that I enjoy drinking wine more than I enjoy tasting it. So let the nobles sniff and swirl their goblets. I prefer to swallow my wine like a common rube. Yes, but there's still that extra step between me and what I want. It seems almost redundant, too. Like washing your hands before taking a bath. Why, yes. While I still don't sniff wines, I've gotten better at identifying them by smell. After I've drank them, of course. For instance, that empty bottle by my foot was a vintage Julianos Firebelly. Next to it are 2 wines made with juniper berries. Under the table, we have your standard Alto. On it is a Frost Dew Blanc. And this? This appears to be a fork. I'm not sure how that got there. Our steward, Phineas, has a contact with the East Empire Company. I think his name was Hlormar or something. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. These Nords with their extra consonants. Or maybe I'm just drunk. My speech does tend to waver after the 23rd bottle. I just can't get enough of this Argonian blood wine Phineas had shipped in from, we'll say, Blackmarsh. Yes, and the funny thing is, I hadn't really tasted it until the 10th bottle. Too much gulping, not enough sipping. I have to remember to slow down to savor the ingredients. I've also decided to keep a list of the flavors I've tasted. Let's see, there's foxglove nectar, intriguing, bergamot seeds, more intriguing, and goldenrod pods, which is just disgusting. Oh, and look! It also lets you breathe underwater. How fun. Away with you.
you believe in prophecies? Not sure yourself, huh? I believe you just have to be patient. It's like torture. You cut, and you cut, and then you cut some more, and each cut brings you closer and closer to that glorious death. But the first cut is just as important as the last. That's what fantasy spells are, Sweet Roll. The very first cut. Have you ever smelled anything so sweet as a corpse? This one's my pet. I call him Sweet Roll. Say hello to the nice adventurer, Sweet Roll. Well, he's not much for words. Oh, how nice! The two of you are getting along splendidly. Sweet Roll doesn't have many friends in the guild. He tends to want to hurt them. My thoughts are that Nelos was born 500 years too early. I don't think Vanis's spells are strong enough to cause the kind of chaos Nelos wants. It's a shame, really. He's so intent on making it. I know the answer, but do you? It depends on whether you think mortals live twice. Perhaps it's all part of a cycle. Dust to flesh and flesh to dust, through rotting skin, bile, and pus. But why would anyone want to live again when death is so wonderful? Yes, death comes for him, which means he needs to bite off more than an inch. But that's all you'll ever get, an inch. It's all about inches and seconds. You might be faster by a second, taller by an inch, smarter by a brain. That's what separates the good and the great. Once you get that inch, the next mage will need 2 inches to best you. The process continues until we are all gods, or we are all dead. I can't decide for the life of me which scenario I like better. Although I imagine you can take a guess. An orc is an orc, iron and coarse, and never is he wont to be gay. Which is to say, Sweet Roll was a poor, poor bandit who knew not the fairer emotions. So to show him, I conjured a nightshade seed and placed it in the belly of his heart. As the flower bloomed, it trickled tiny drops of poison into his blood. Trickle, trickle, trickle. And every day his knees grew weak, his stomach fluttered, and his head felt faint, and he knew how it felt to love. And what better gift for a surly orc? Well, the gift of death, of course, but I gave him both. But death is a comma, a new beginning. If you died for me, I would show you. Your flesh would turn such a delightful gray. Oh yes, so long as it's very, very small. I could do it for you, but sadly, you wouldn't die. The plants never want to grow, not even bloodgrass. The nightshade I put in Sweet Roll is special. It grew from the blood rivers of oblivion. And someday, it will leave a seed of its own. When Sweet Roll dies a second time, I could plant it in you. They say for nightshade to grow, It must be watered with blood, so I could think of no better place for it. As for light, I made sure to feed him a ball of mage light every morning. Oh, won't you die for me? You know you want to. That's a good question. I take very good care of you, don't I, Sweet Roll? Sweet Roll, when's the last time you let me bite you? He's not sure. Greetings. Quibble, quibble, quibble. That's what we do. We all want to eat, but there's so many quibbles about what makes us do. Offrin, for instance, wants magic to move mountains. But I want something more. I want to conjure little things. Tiny bugs that crawl up your nose and nibble on your brain. Things so small, you never see them coming until it's already too late. Do you see them? They're dancing in the air, tiny, tiny purple things, riding pods of dust. Sweet Roll, dispose of this infidel! Sweet Roll, he never listens to me. Only his heart. It's where the poison lies. Would you like to be my new doll? You'd make a fine one. Nothing useful, yet. I'm still learning the craft. I could just read a tome, but every one Phineas has is much too large. I tried to rework them best I can, with mixed results. Well, maybe not so mixed. I tried to conjure a scamp and out came an Atronach. I tried to conjure diseased rats, and out came 2 Atronachs. I tried to conjure a puppy, and out came a Dremora Lord. Nelos told me to get rid of the tomes and focus on what I do best. So right now, I conjure little bugs and things. But if one of the other guild members challenged me, I could always bring back the Dremora. Death take us all.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Huh?
Need something? Until next time.
What can I do for you?
Yes, Sarah?
Speak. Until next time.
Yeah?
Make it quick. And here I was about to start licking the rims of all these empty bottles. You've certainly saved me some embarrassment. Alto wine? Excellent. You are now by far my favorite person here. Oh, right. Long story short, I guess I'm sort of a shade. You see, a while back I was one of a party of 4 mages. We were adventurers of sorts, raiding tombs for treasure and enchantments. Of course, one day we raided the wrong tomb. We were trapped inside by some sort of malevolent spirit, screaming at us because we defiled his burial chamber. I don't know the exact reason, to be honest, because I was drunk at the time. Yes, although it tends to get amplified when you're near the source of their strength. Sort of like Heimskir's voice the closer he gets to the Talos statue. In any case, I do remember Einar trying to reason with it, and Sarasa trying to stab at the ghostly visage. I also remember the Velvet LeChance I was drinking had a bit too much nightshade. Ultimately, it was Razan who decided to try bargaining with the ghost instead. In exchange for our freedom, we would offer our lives. So, the four of us, 5 if you count the Shade, made a pact. When at least 3 of us died, we would pledge our souls to it. The last one alive being the vessel. And here I am. Or rather, here we are. Surprisingly, very little. The Shade in me has a very distinct appetite. We're very similar in that regard. It mostly revels in the destruction of mortals. So long as I keep it sated in this regard, it seems rather content playing a secondary role. Joining this band of misfits was a rather inspired choice for both of us. He gets to blow things up, I get my wine. And here I was about to start licking the rims of all the... Alto wine? Excellent. You are now by far my favorite person here. About time.
Shadow eats the light. Everyone will die when we bring the long night. La 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 la.
This is a local favorite and...
So, I trust your meeting with Nelos went well. How many times did he mention me? 7? 8? Don't worry, you'll be more than well enough to kill the old hag when the time comes. I trust you'll be delivering her to us. Well, that's ridiculous. The choice is clear. One side is led by an ugly, feeble old witch, and the other is as pure as the winter's snow. But if you do side with that old hag, know this. The only person I ever kissed died of frost. And while I would never give you a kiss, if you cross us, well, I can always blow you one.
You're back. What did you find? Then I apologize for putting you in such danger. Yet you are here, safe and alive. No doubt as Nelos intended. However, his arrogance blinds him if he thinks you can be turned. What information did you glean from this visit? You would do well not to countenance your admiration for a rogue mage while on this campus. We have already lost many naive apprentices to his cause, and I will not brook you encouraging others to join them. Thankfully, his rebellion is all but extinct, now that we have obtained and developed a few of Vanus's spells. I have managed to develop 2 tomes, one for each of us, although I am not entirely sure they work as Vanus intended. Yes, Vanus's notes were originally rather ambitious. It describes an army of dead bursting from the ground. It's a frightening proposition. However, after many failed attempts to harness the energy required for such a task, he chose a more efficient spell. It's, in essence, a conjuration chain, or to put it more mildly, conjuring a conjurer. To start this chain, you would need to summon a creature with a large wellspring of magicka. This creature would conjure servants, who would then conjure lesser beings, effectively creating an army without draining your own magicka reserve. That is what this spell tome is. The knowledge to summon a dragon priest. A good choice. It requires a surplus of magicka to cast it, but it will linger for a substantial period of time. We cannot afford to waste this opportunity. We have a distinct advantage with Vanus's spells, but their numbers would overwhelm us. To put it simply, we need to increase our numbers. However, considering the number of incidents that have happened at this college, it would be irresponsible. Too many students have been lost due to negligence. I will not tolerate another. This means that I, too, must join this fight. Yet it will not be us alone. I have spoken with Nelika and another experienced mage. Both have agreed to join us in our efforts. My peers, if I may have your attention, my name is Olivia Moroni. I am a former instructor at the Arcane University in Cyrodiil. For the better part of my life, while others have toiled in personal research, I have devoted myself to the development of students. Had I chosen to do otherwise, I may have made new discoveries. I could have achieved some personal acclaim. Yet I do not regret a single day. However, for the past 10 years, I have devoted my life to a different task. To bringing justice to the mage who killed my father. I am now arriving at the end of this pursuit. It is all thanks to the one who stands beside me. The one you know as the Dragonborn. I will not lie. The mage we face is one of the most dangerous I have ever known. Yet it is for that reason that he cannot be allowed to succeed.
Need something?
Still, I would be remiss if I said this was merely an act of duty. For all of you who have volunteered your service, at great personal risk, for your sacrifice.
Is there something I can do for you?
I am forever grateful. Thank you.
I don't know how
Is there something I can do for you?
Don't do something. Innocent lives will die. This is my chance to make things right, friend.
What can I do for you?
Acknowledged. The Radiant Dark. Their philosophy is flawed.
Excellent.
Is there
The four of us will
something I can
depart
do for you?
Pinefrost Tower at once. Dragonborn, I trust you know the way.
Hail, Dragonborn. My name is Helsig. I am pleased to make your acquaintance. Olivia tells me we are to extinguish the Radiant Dark. This pleases me. Nothing. It is one particular member with whom I seek quarrel. My brother, Offrin. Correct. We are siblings by name, not by blood. It matters not either way. I seek his death. No, it is to kill him. There is no reason to be. Father told Mother Offren is dead. We had the funeral. We mourned for 7 days. Then Father told the kitchen knife story. We were all moved. Yes, it was a violent act, but a necessary one. Violence is a tool. It must be used with caution. Offren lacks it. It is a simple metaphor. There is one in every household. It is a useful tool. When Offren was a boy, he tried to help Mother cut the tomatoes. He did not bend his fingers as she instructed. He nearly sliced off his hand. Father made it seem as if he was praising Offren's eagerness. Mother does not know he was condemning him. I have knowledge of basic magic from all schools. I will attempt to adapt myself to your strengths. Olivia and Nelacar primarily use a combination of restoration and destruction. Normally, this would call for support magic. However, Vanis's paralysis spell may prove support enough. It will be interesting to evaluate its efficacy. No. Before she came north, she was south. She sought my father. He is a difficult man to reach. She was able to reach him. It is a testament to her will. Yet Father did not agree to join her quest. Then she mentioned the Radiant Dark. Father informed Master Moronin that I would come in his place. He assured her I was his mirror. It was not a lie. It is the removal of 2 birds with 1 stone. My brother aside, the Radiant Dark serve as a test of my worthiness. Father is old. He would like to leave his legacy to an heir. He will not do so out of sentiment. It will die with him if I am not worthy. Father believes I am wise. He commends me for choosing my words carefully. This test will prove I am strong.
I'm just doing my duties. Yes?
It seems the Radiant Dark were doing quite well for themselves. No doubt this tableau of riches is designed to soften unwitting mages, whether they be friend or foe. Come, let us keep moving.
Was wrong about the Dragonborn. He's wrong about a lot of things. Luckily, I'm around to fix his mistakes. But those days are over. We'll keep Vanis's spells for ourselves. And when I'm Emperor, I'll make sure the rest of you get a place in my court. sister. What are you doing here? And you're with them. Why? What's the meaning of this?
I am sorry, brother, but you should not be talking. You are a corpse.
A corpse? Then, Father... No! I refuse to believe it. You're not even his blood!
The corpse continues to speak. I must rectify that.
Wait!
Come here. Shoot him!
It is dead. The corpse is without food. Our business is not concluded. We should continue on.
Nelos, it is time for you to answer for your crimes.
Destiny follows no law. It is as inexorable as the passage of time.
What you call destiny is a delusion, and I will prove it with your death.
As I told your father, my death is only the beginning. Yours, however, nothing.
It's finally over, and I owe you my thanks. With the Radiant Dark finished, many of us will rest easy tonight, living and dead. Three of the four, perhaps. My work is not yet complete, however. Nelos may be dead, but his ideals, research, and influence remain. If those are allowed to persist, then all is for naught. We are always teaching the next generation. Our voice must be an echo, or it will die like a whisper. That is the measure of true progress. In any event, we must make sure this area is clear. I will head over to the East Wing. You head over to the entrance. We will meet back here.
We meet again, Dragonborn, but this time under better circumstances. That I did. Even worse, I called you green. How foolish do I look now to have been so wrong on both accounts? That is the gap between myself and Master Madeline. She saw in you what I could not, even when her vision was clouded by choices. I should, but would you believe me if I said I'm frightened she would scold me? Your presence is distracting me, I should say. We can talk later. There's still important work to be done. She would be right, but I thought maybe you would not be so angry to see a friendly face. That you are. If I had half of your wit, perhaps I would have been a more successful beggar. But then I would not be a mage. So friend, let us be thankful for the things we are, and the things we are not. Oh yes, did you by chance deliver the message? Then I am forever in your debt. By doing this deed, you have filled this cat's heart with joy. I wonder if she got the message. Perhaps then, before I leave this mortal plane, I'll find the twin moons once more and look for her reply. Sugar and Sam's friend, tell my master I will be waiting for her on the other side.
What's on your mind, sweetheart?
Did you find anything? A sentimental fool. Wasting his energy coming back here. And yet he hides from me. The Khajiit knows I would give him a good scolding. The cat always did have a knack for stating the obvious. Indeed, he will be waiting, and likely ignoring another task to do so. I will remind him of that when I see him. Yes, I suppose I owe you that much. The truth is, my father loved Nelos more than he cared to admit. It was difficult for him to live in Morrowind. He was different. Not so much in terms of race, but in skill. The other students, whether they be Dunmer, Argonian or human, did not understand him the way Neloth Solal did. In a way, the Dunmer had saved him. All my father wanted was to return the favor. That is a hard question. Nelos had long been under the impression that he was chosen for something greater. As to why, well, you would know better than I. At first, I assumed it was merely an excuse to avoid instructing some of the lesser apprentices. Over time, it was evident that he believed in this delusional prophecy he calls the Long Night. And it is far easier to commit heinous acts when you believe they have a higher purpose. However, thanks to your diligence, he will commit them no more. I will stay here and see if I can discover if there are any other members of the Radiant Dark in other parts of Tamriel. It's unlikely there are many, given Nelos's distaste for those who lack strength. Yet that also means that anyone who was chosen will prove to be formidable. Excellent. I will no doubt do so. Dragonborn, I thank you for everything.